Hey everyone, Phil from 3DP UK Tech Channel here. Today's review is on the Creality Hi Combo multicolour printer. Creality sent this over for me to review, and everything that I'm going to talk about today is my own opinion. I have been sent this for free to review, but on my channel I will be open and honest and transparent about what I'm thinking about this particular printer. In this video we'll go through the unboxing, the build, and then we'll go into some prints, some initial thoughts, and then we'll do a final recap at the end of the video. Now, as you'll know, there are some budget multicolour printers out there, one from Bamboo, and other brands like that. Now, this particular one here, the Creality Hi Combo, can be extended to 4 different CFS units, so you can have 16 colours. Now, straight away that already pushes the other brands slightly aside because they're only limited to 4 colours. This particular review is going to be just on the 1 CFS unit, so a 4 multicolour. And as you'll see later on in the video, some of the prints did come out really well. Some issues with some bleeding from the red to the white, but that's nothing to do with the printer itself. That's more slicer related and a bit of skill. Now, we'll go over some of the specs as we go through the unboxing and through the build, and I'll talk about the build volume, the speeds that it's capable of doing, the type of nozzle, the temperatures it can reach to, etc. And we'll also talk about a little bit about the CFS unit, and we'll also talk about some of the key features such as the built-in camera for time-lapsing and light. But like I say, don't forget to like and subscribe to 3DP UK Tech Channel. Once again, thanks to Creality for sending me for this to review. Let's head over now to the unboxing and the build. Stay with us. Take care, everyone. On to the next bit.
Okay, so as you can see, this is the Creality Hi Combo. You can actually purchase this printer on its own without the actual CFS unit, but this is the actual Hi Combo. So first out of the box is the power connector. So for me, it's the UK. Then, as you can see, well packaged, we have the CFS connector and some PTFE tube. We also have the CFS adapter as well. So once again, you can do 16 colors this, so it can connect up to 4 different CFS units. But in this review, we're just going to have the 1 CFS unit, which you can see in this image now. Okay, so now we're unpackaging the CFS unit. I do like the fact that it has the latch system to actually close the lid. There's been some feedback on that. It could have had a filament dryer installed into the actual unit, but that's just something that can progress. So we have, next out of the box is the nozzle cleaner and the clippers. We also have the instruction manual for both the CFS unit and the printer itself, and some stickers as usual, and then cable ties and various other things that we will need to do the installation. We also have the anti-tangle connection and the actual spool holder itself, so all 3 of those actually connect together. Okay, so next out of the box is the actual main frame with the actual printing head, and you can see the electrics and the cutter on the side. We're going to go into a bit more detail later on in the video what each of these do. So this is the bottom part, so the actual printing bed. From what I've seen the instructions, it's going to be really easy to put together, so it shouldn't take us too long. So they've well packaged this with cable ties and foam, so I like the fact that that's been very well protected. And as you can see, the screen is already pre-installed, which will go also into a bit more detail. We have the RFID reader for the single spool printing. So let's have a look over what we have in the box. So you have cable ties, you have the spanner and the Allen keys, you've got the CFS connection. We have a filament pack, which we always discard because it's really not useful. The spool holder, we have the PEI bed, and we also have the main frame and the printing bed. You also have the instructions. We'll also go into a bit more detail about the printing size of this as well, and some of the specs that it actually has. But this is everything you get in the box when you receive this Creality Hi Combo package. Okay, so what we need to do now is push the main gantry frame into the base itself. Make sure it's aligned and make sure it's not trapped. And we're going to need to use 4M48 screws to connect up. So we're just going to fly through that now and I'll show you the location of those two items. So they're either side of the gantry frame. So as you can see, there is connections there. So make sure you don't pinch those when you put the gantry frame into it. And then just tighten up both sides, making sure they're both aligned. Make sure to push the gantry frame right to the bottom because it can be slightly offset so the screws won't fit. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is connect up the back of the actual frame using two M38 screws. Make sure to lock the base into the actual frame itself. This just finalizes that connection. So it's literally two on either side in the middle and then one at the back on both sides. So 3 screws in total on each side. The next thing we need to do is actually push the connectors in place. Now these are fairly obvious on this side. Make sure to push the wire all the way into the actual frame or base itself because you will be using these covers here which are in the kit provided. So just push that down, it should clip into place and that completely seals that unit. So then on the other side we have the sensor and the Z connection motor, so make sure to push that in and also push both of those wires into the gap and that will seal that off. And once again, using the cover, we're going to close that off. Okay, now to install the spool holder. As you can see, the anti-tangle connection, you're going to need to use an M35 screw just to connect it up using the guide. So once that's connected, we are then going to connect it to the frame. And as you can see, there's a clear indication as to where the location is actually for that. There is no screws for this. It literally just plops over to the top and then push fits. And as soon as you hear the click, it's in place. And like I say, there is a guide to tell you where to put it. The next step is to connect up the build plate. This is a flexi build plate, PEI. And then we're going to head over to doing the screen. Like I said earlier, it's already pre-installed. Take care with this. It can be quite fragile. It's 90° out and 6° tilt. So take off the protective covering. The next thing we're going to do is now connect up the wires. Okay, so we're connecting up the X-axis motor cable now. As you can see up the frame, there are some little cable tidies. You can utilize them. It literally just clips into place and then you're going to connect it up to the little connector board at the back. Now a quick word from today's sponsor. Pcbway are a PCB board manufacturer. Not only do they do PCB boards, but they also do advanced PCBs, PCB assembly, CNC and 3D printing services, and so much more. They aren't just a broker, they also do fabrication assembly under one roof. They have quality assurance checks. They have an instant quoting online system, so you literally can just put in all of your requirements and they give you an online price there and then. You can also track all of your parcels and stuff like that under their tracking system. They have a quick turnaround and they also have no minimum requirements, so you can literally do whatever you want. 24-hour customer service and so much more. That's pcbway.com, today's video sponsor. Okay, so we're going to connect up the power cable and turn the printer on now, and then it's going to run through some setup points. So that's what we're going to do now. As I said, the screen is already linked. So we can see here, so I'm selecting English as my main language. It's going to ask me whether there's anything in the build area that could potentially harm the printer. And we know that that's no. We're going to agree to all their terms and conditions. And then it's going to ask for me to connect to the Wi-Fi. So we're going to do that and then straight on to the next step. Okay, so the next step is to select your time zone. So for me, it's Greenwich Mean Time. So I'm going to select that and press OK. And then the next step is self-test. So just click OK and start the self-device test. And what that will do is run through a list of different items that it needs to check. And once that's complete, it will give you a little green tick and everything's working as intended, as you can see on the screen now. The printer will then home and go to its homing position. So all of the calibration checks have been done. It takes a while, approximately 5 to 10 minutes. So just give it some time. Then we're going to run through some of the screen settings now. So on there is a built-in memory with some slice files. So we're going to print some of these as a test. It didn't come with a USB for me, so I'm going to have to basically get some of my own. As you can see, you can also select your spool as well. So on the side of the printer, which I'll show a little bit later in the video, is an RFID reader. And with that, if you have the RFID type spools, you can literally tap it against the side of the printer and it will load it up on there if you're doing single printing. Obviously, this is a combo version, so mainly this video is going to be around the combo settings. Pretty much the whole of the layout of the touchscreen is pretty much like the K2 and the Ender series, so they've not gone too far away from that. As I said earlier about the RFID reader, here it is on the left hand side of the printer. So you tap it and it will then load up. You can also do the cooling, so obviously it's only going to be the main fan, there's no side blower, etc. And then it's all your usual modes, that so screen brightness, etc. Throughout the whole of the settings and systems page. You can also check the build volume and all the details around about that. So literally it's the same as all of the other printers that they've got out, the same type of firmware. So in expert mode, you can adjust the flow rate, you can adjust the Z height. So if you're not quite happy with what the calibration has done, you can make adjustments to that. You also have the option to change the CFS, whether it reads all of the spools at the very beginning. So when you put a spool into the CFS unit, it starts reading it with the RFID capabilities in there. What I've noticed is that when you turn on the machine during my tests, the actual spool would go through its testing period. So all 4 spools would go through and it would read it. I've turned that off, and you can actually do that in the settings page. It become very time consuming to go on to print, but we can go in a bit more about that later on. Okay, so obviously in the about page, it just gives you details about the actual machine itself, and it also has a built-in camera. So let's just take a quick look at that now. Over in the right hand side of the gantry, you will notice a camera and light, and it also has a privacy cover. So if you don't want that camera showing live, you can turn that off. So what we're now going to do is connect up the CFS unit to the machine itself, and we'll go through the steps that we have to follow to be able to do that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is connect up the filament buffer. The buffer comes with some 3M sticky tape, and we're going to use that. You want to put it on the opposite side to the move-in part. We also want to make sure that the single opening is at the top, and the 4-way opening inlet is for the CFS units is at the bottom. There's no location indicator on the side of the frame, but you do need to make sure it's away from the move-in gantry. So with the sticky tape, you're going to apply it to the filament buffer. Once again, make sure it's on the right side. It's fairly obvious. There is a moving part on the opposite side. And once again, when you're connecting it up, we're going to take off the other side of the sticky, which now will allow us to fit it to the frame itself. Okay, once again, this is the orientation. So we want the 4 inlets at the bottom and the single outlet at the top. So now we've pushed it up, make sure that it is clear of the moving frame. We're going to put some PTFE tubing into the nozzle and into the filament buffer. The longer PTFE is going to go into the other side. Now it's a connection up to the CFS unit to the filament buffer. So the straight edge connection and the L-shaped connection go in this particular orientation. And then what we want to do is connect up the CFS unit to the printer itself, which is found behind the screen and the USB connection. And now we're going to turn on the machine, and that should now connect us to the CFS unit. And as you can see, it's going through its opening sequence, which is flashing all of the spool hole locations. And we've also got a live indicator of the temperature within the unit and the humidity levels. And as you can see, the filament buffer is now lit up blue. And that is basically how you set up the CFS unit. Once again, you can connect up to 16 individual colors. So 4 CFS units into this small bed slinger printer, which I think is really amazing. And it kind of counts it out against the other units that are out there with multicolor printing. Okay, so now the machine's assembled, nice and quick. 95% of it was already assembled, so nice and quick, easy to use. Got the 3.2-inch color touchscreen, fold-away screen. Really like that, so no fiddling about with connections. You also have the camera with light and the little privacy cover as well, which if you're a bit concerned about things like that, it's nice little addition. So you can do your time lapses. We've got the spool holder, which was nice and easy to connect up, and the anti-tangle. Okay, so taking a look over the filling head, we got the clog-free quick swap nozzle in there, so the tri-metal nozzle tipped with hardened steel. So really like the fact that they've got that. They're all metal extruder. We've got the built-in run-out sensor inside of the extruder. Now we're going to look at the bed itself. So not only is the Creality Hi capable of multicolor printing, but it's also capable of some higher speeds as well. It's being quoted as being able to achieve speeds of 500 mms and 12,000 mms acceleration. So for that, it's going to serve some real purposes, but obviously, as you all know, these are quoted at speeds and the quality is going to take a bit of a dip if you do run at those speeds. So taking a look over the machine as well, it also has dual lead screws as well, a USB connection on the right hand side. So now we're going to have a look at the CFS unit in a bit more detail. Okay, so now we've opened up the CFS unit. You'll notice at the back of the unit itself, you've got these little slots for the desiccant. You want to take them off and actually unpack those desiccants from their plastic sealant. Obviously, it's not going to do what it's intended to do and keep your filaments dry. So just unpackage that and replace it. At the front of the machine, you've got a digital display just giving you the temperature and current humidity and what spool is in use. So at the moment, it's got number 1. And on the touchscreen, you can go to some extra settings on how you want the CFS unit to run via the system. So you could turn off auto detection, startup detection, etc., and how you want it to carry over for automatic refill. If you run out of a filament, you can skip over onto the next one. So we're adding some filament now, and this is Creality's new lineup of Soleyin. These are the new spools that you can now purchase on their website, and we got blue, red, yellow, and purple. So we're going to carry out some tests now. As you can see, all of the spools are loaded into the CFS unit. And on there we have a slice file. And I believe this is a cap of some sort. So we're just going to do a quick print. And then what we'll do is we'll add some of our own slice files on there and carry out some testing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go through a model that I've sliced on Creality Slicer 6.1. This is the UW Strike Force model. I will leave a link in the description as to where I got that model from, and thanks to the creator of that. So the USB is being copied over to the main drive, and now the temperature of the bed and plate is now starting up. Here is a time lapse of this. Now this is quite a long model to print, and it did have a lot of waste because it is a multicolor print. I wanted to try and test its capabilities. And as you can see, the model is completed into 3 different components. At the end of this video, I will show all the completed models from this print and this review. Once we've removed it from the build plate, I'll need to remove the supports and glue this together. But like I say, I'll show that at the end of this video. And there you can see the prime tower for this and the amount of filament waste as well. So just giving it a quick look in the actual bag, the amount of waste was not far off the same amount as the model itself. This is an unfortunate waste issue with multicolor printing, but with a bit of slicer adaptation for the filament purge, I'm sure we could probably get that reduced or even purging into a new model. Here was another slice file that was on the drive itself, and basically this is the printing head cover. Now it gives you the ability to print off your own filament head, and as you can see, I selected just a color. It's not something that I'm probably going to do myself. I just thought it'd be interesting to see how that slice file come out and how it would work with some, particular types of prints like this. Okay, so the next model I've sliced is a katana mask from Pipecox. Once again, I'll leave a link in the description. As you can see, there was a huge amount of purge waste on this for quite a small model, but there was quite a lot of intricate designs. You can also see there's a lot of bleed from the red into the white, but that's because of the slice that I've done. not the actual printer itself. And then we have these dragons as well. Once again, I'll leave a link to the description for that. This was just a multicolor swap, so in the slicer I selected that. And the next model up is the I wanted to show a full bed print, so this was just some love hearts that I sliced on there. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show was a power outage that we had in the house, which meant my printer actually stopped and I needed to resume it. The thing I noticed was the nozzle went down to 21 degrees, which isn't a problem, but the thing that I have an issue with is the bed went down to 20 degrees. Potentially that could actually disconnect your model. Now I have clicked resume, so I'm hoping that this model can continue, bearing in mind we're 80% into quite a long print. And it seems like it's actually now basically going back into its purge cycle. So it's just going to get rid of anything that's residue. And then it should go onto the purge tower and then straight into print, which it's showing as it is. And it's actually completing that, which is ideal. So once again, I just want to show another full bed print that I've done on this. This model is a dummy 13 robot. I will show these models at the end and some of the print quality and some of the issues that I have. And then we'll run through the specs and then we'll just do a final conclusion. So keep watching.
Okay, so that's the end of the Creality Hi combo review. So I'm going to quickly show some models now and then we'll just run through some of the specs that this particular printer has and what it can offer you. And I'll give like a final thoughts on what I think actually my thoughts on this printer is and whether it would be a viable option, and the key points and some of the pluses and negatives about buying a Bedslinger multicolor printer. So I'm going to show you a few models now. Okay, so for the first model, this is the I'm going to leave a link in the description for where you can pick this model up. This was printed in 3 different parts, so the arms and the main body. It took approximately 22 hours to print, and with the multicolor, so as you can see, come out really well. Because there was no white in this, there wasn't any color bleed, so the purging seemed to be really good for this. However, it was purged into a bag, so I didn't use bleed into a model, which I would do in future. Obviously, I think I ended up with almost like for like waste on that one. That one, really cool model, that one. Like I say, I'll leave a link in the description. The other models, these aren't multicolor prints, however they are functional prints, so I just wanted to show you. These are the Robot 13s, so once again leave a link in the description. I've done 2 of these, so I've done it with a sparkly filament and normal filament from Creality, which I said earlier on in the video, the Soleyin. So definitely check that out. The quality of those prints are really cool. And these are all articulated as well, and as you can see they come out really nice. Now these come in 2 separate parts for printing these particular robots. So the robots come as an armor and then the body, the armor being the blue sparkly that I've got here, and then the white is the main body. The main body was printed in PETG, obviously because it needed to be slightly more rigid, and that printed out really well. This was a full bed print, so this is approximately 200% of the original model. I am going to go up to even more, so up to 500. I may not be able to print that on here, but we'll see how that one goes. I could potentially split the model pieces down. Like I say, printed really well. I wanted to show you functional and multicolor. The other model that was already on the actual hard drive itself was this fan cover. I won't be using this. I'm going to stick with it as it is right now. I see no value in adding that on unless you wanted to change and modify and sort of customize your print. This is quite cool. This is printed in PLA. It did suggest to do that, but not so sure with the high temperatures around it. But as you can see, once again, functional print come out really well. The one that really strikes me the most actually, and this is down to slicer issues, this is not the machine itself. As you can see, this is a Katana model by Pipecox. Once again, I'll leave a link in the description, but you can see the white and the color bleed between the red and the purge and stuff like that. This is simply slicer related. This is skill to get this down to an absolute T. There was a lot of purge waste in this as well, but I think potentially I could have done a lot less purge waste on certain areas and a lot more on the others. So as you can see, the bleed kind of spoils it, but overall the print come out really well. This is once again I think it was almost 26 hours, and this was actually 80% of the original size, so I did sort of downsize it for speed of print, just for quality, and it come out really well. I still think it looks brilliant, and it just shows you what you can achieve with good slicer settings as well. So leave a link in, leave some comments in the comment section if you have any better ways to do this. I'm still learning with color, but this is nothing to do with the printer itself. This is simply a slicer issue. Once again, coat really well with articulated models. So these Cinder Dragons, these just prove that, you know, 0.2 layer height, that this come out really well. And what I did was a color swap, so literally there was hardly any purge. And when I did purge, I actually purged into this little model just to save a bit of filament, and I barely had any waste on that. So overall, pretty successful prints. Like I say, this Katana model did have some bleeding, so it kind of spoiled it in that respect, but this multicolour model come out really well. Really like this model, kind of cool. Like I say, a lot of filament waste on that one, so there's got to be better ways to actually manage that filament waste. So what we're going to do now that we've done the overall unboxing and build, time lapses of what I've done and printed, and some models showing, we're going to go over some quick specs of the actual machine itself, just a final recap, and then we're going to leave it at that. So that was a Creality Hi combo. Let's go over to the spec bit and then we'll close it off. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this review of the Creality Hi combo. So I'm just going to quickly go over some of the specs. You've seen the models, you've seen how easy it is to unbox and build. It's 95% pretty much installed. It's just literally a few bolts this side, few bolts that side. The screen's already connected, so you don't need to worry about that. Some connections. If you have bought the standalone unit, which you can, which I'm not sure why you would want to do that with the capabilities of multicolor, I would really go with the combo unit myself. It also has the ability of going up to 16 different colors. So with this combo unit, you just get the one CFS unit, which is here, but you can go up to 4 CFS units on this printer. Yes, there are some limitations with it being a bed slinger, and it isn't a Core XY. The build volume is 260 and 260 on the X and Y, and it's 300 on the Z, so it's quite a decent size against some of your other competitors that this kind of is up against. And I can't do a comparison of those two because I don't own the other competitors' version of this type of bed slinger multicolor printer, but from my experiences from using this over the last few weeks, it's very good. I'm really enjoying it. Like I say, you've got the filament ejection unit here, so it'd be good to see when the community makes like a little waste bucket for that. You've got the little cutter on the side of the nozzle, which engages when it moves to this point. You've also got the time-lapse and monitoring camera here with the light, so if you're doing any late night printing and you don't want anything to be exposed like that, it will pick up the item that you're printing. It's dual lead screw as well, so nice and stable with that. Great linear rails as well. The speeds they're looking at is 500 MMS with 12,000 acceleration, but as you all know, that's always an over-exaggerated speed. Quality is always going to take a real hit. 3.2-inch color touchscreen, nice and easy to use. You don't have to connect that up. It is pre-installed, as I said earlier on in the video. So overall, the Creality Hi combo has really ticked a lot more boxes than it's not checked. So from my point of view, having had the Bamboo X1 Carbon, it is a long way from that, obviously, because it's catering to a different market. This is a budget Creality multicolor printer, and it's going to give the community more scope to be able to do cool prints. As you can see, a lot of the issues that people see is from slicer related issues, so I've got a lot of work to do on that, as you've seen from the katana mask. So all the models I've shown in this video I will leave in the description, and thanks to those creators, some fantastic models. CFS unit has been out for a while, so I don't really need to cover too much on that. Loving the display, telling you the humidity and temperature inside that, and the latch as well. However, would be great to have an heating capabilities on this unit. I know a lot of the other brands are trying to do that, and some have already done that. As you can see with the CFS unit adapter, you have the capabilities of 4 entry points, as I said, 4 different CFS units and 16 colors capable. So for this versus some of the other competitors that are kind of benchmarks against this in terms of price range and budget 3D color printing, to have 16 colors at your disposal is amazing, especially if you already own a K2 Plus. Or you have CFS units to hand. You can swap between the machines. So if you're working on the K2 Plus, you can use them all on that. If you're working on the Creality Hi combo, you can move it over to that. It means you have more scope for your CFS units. A lot of people buy these things and think that they're linked just to that. These are multi-purpose for any type of machine. So that is it for this review. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, thank you to Creality for sending me this unit for review. And also check out my article that I've written for this. I'll also leave a link in the description for that. I've written more in-depth article about how I felt when I was putting it together and some of the issues I might have seen, my pros and cons and stuff like that. But that is it. That is the Creality Hi combo from Creality. This bed slinger multicolour printer. Take care everyone, Phil from 3DP UK.